So our next key term is gender socialization, and this is a goes back to this idea that gender is a learned process, and as children, so when we're born, you can think of an infant as kind of a blank slate, and all those influences that come in and teach us. Place sort of expectations and roles associated with us based on our sex, and all these sort of learned behaviors that we sort of adapt over the years as we grow and mature. So this is what we're talking about when we think about socialization, and there are a lot of influences that can occur. So if you think about some of the major ones, so the role between parent and child is very influential. You learn about how to conform to gender roles based on watching your parents, their relationship, how they also sort of perform their gender. You might also think about authority figures in your life, so teachers, coaches, other sort of figures in society who have power, politicians, local authority forces, etc. So you have all of these people who you look up to as a child, and they're going to teach you how to perform your gender. And on a larger scale, you also have social forces such as corporations, military institutions, educational forces, and the media, so including film, television, advertisers, just a range of influences that are teaching us, inundating us as young children with all these messages, and we learn these attitudes, learn to sort of see ourselves conform based on all these messages about who we should be and our gender identity. And we learn these behaviors, and it seems as if they are natural or normal, and they are in fact learned for the most part, so they are socially constructed. I also want to mention Jackson Katz's documentary Tough Guys, and I think there's a sequel, Tough Guys 2, where he talks about the social expectations around masculinity and how violent masculinity is sort of a learned behavior in young boys. So Katz is kind of saying we learn, or in American culture in particular, there is a kind of violent masculinity that is becoming the norm, and it's taught to boys at a young age by their fathers, by father figures, by coaches, through media, so all of those popular action movies, through violent video games, all of these sort of interlocking factors are influential in ingraining a kind of violent masculinity as the norm. So it is an interesting documentary, and if you have not watched it, I would recommend that one.
It's a dirty little secret that the video game industry and the Hollywood film industry get paid by the firearms industry to feature popular gun brands in their games and movies, and that the American military uses Call of Duty and other video games in their recruitment and training. Watch and learn. And the reason this matters so much is that while we've been debating whether guns or movies and video games are more to blame for violence, we've missed how both of these industries have combined to glorify not only violence, but a particular brand of violent masculinity. Awesome. The fact is that when we talk about a culture of violence in America, we're almost always talking about a culture of violent masculinity. And when we talk about a culture of violent masculinity, we're talking about what the culture teaches boys about what it means to be a man. We often talk about violence being a learned behavior, but it's more to the point to say that it's a taught behavior. And by shifting the focus from learned to taught, we we shift the onus of responsibility onto those of us who are teaching our sons what it means to be a man. William Pollock introduced the idea of a boy code in which boys are taught from a very early age to act tough and not show their feelings. Michael Kimmel extended the reach of the boy code into late adolescence and young adulthood, where he describes a guy code in which young men police each other into conformity with dictates about manhood that come with an implicit and sometimes explicit warning. Don't slip up or you risk being unmasked and found out as someone who doesn't measure up. The result is that guys are put into a box that turns out to be the perfect breeding ground for violence. We can't show any emotion except anger. We can't think too much or seem too intellectual. We can't back down when someone disrespects us. We have to show we're tough enough to inflict physical pain and take it in turn. We're supposed to be sexually aggressive with women. And then we're taught that if we step out of this box, we risk being seen as soft, weak, feminine, or gay.
Where in hell are you from anyway, Private? Sir, Texas, sir! Holy dog shit! Texas, only steers and queers come from Texas, Private Cowboy. And you don't much look like a steer to me, so that kind of narrows it down.
It may be an extreme case, but I don't think there's a guy out there who can't relate on a gut level to the excruciating scenes in the classic film Full Metal Jacket when Drill Sergeant Hartman goes to work driving basic human qualities out of the young recruits in order to turn them into men.
You're so ugly you could be a modern art masterpiece. What's your name, fat body?
Sir, Leonard Lawrence, sir.
Lawrence what, of Arabia?
Sir, no, sir.
I don't like the name Lawrence. Only faggots and sailors are called Lawrence. From now on, you're Gomer Pyle.
Sir, yes, sir.
Anything short of full-scale emotional shutdown becomes a source of humiliation and shame. And in response, young men learn to adopt what I call the tough guys, the front so many young men put up to shield their vulnerabilities and avoid being ridiculed as pussies, punks, fags, and an endless list of other sexist and homophobic put-downs.
Faggot. Faggot. Faggots.
Square, fairy, sissy, bitch,
Bitch.
bitch, homo, pussy,
Pussy.
pussy.
As sociologist C.J. Pascoe details in her harrowing book, Dude, You're a Fag, the day-to-day humiliation boys and young men are subject to on a daily basis in our schools borders on criminal. Their every move relentlessly and brutally scrutinized for anything with even a whiff of femininity or weakness by peers that take it upon themselves to serve as gender cops.
Are you kind of stupid?
No, I said gym class was stupid.
No, I said, listen to this little faggot.
But it doesn't just come from their peer groups. It comes from fathers, coaches, and older male role models as well, who take it upon themselves to school young men in what it takes to measure up to a patriarchal ideology that says being a man is about domination, power, aggression, and control.
Hit me. Come on, hit me. Come on. Come on, Jack. Hit me.
All right, so that was a short clip from that Jackson Katz documentary, Tough Guys. And he sort of brings up a lot of interesting sort of aspects of gender studies, particularly if we're looking at masculinity. And he mentioned the name of Michael Kimmel. And Kimmel sort of is one of those sort of masculine study critics who I think is an important influence and impact in this discourse. And Kimmel talks about this idea of masculinity as a homosocial enactment. So what he says is that sort of masculinity is performed by men for other men. And in his essay, he states that other men, he says, we are under the constant, careful scrutiny of other men. Other men watch us, rank us, grant our acceptance into the realm of manhood. Manhood is demonstrated for other men's approval. So in that regard, masculinity is a homosocial enactment in that it is performed for other men's approval. For example, something that comes to my mind would be like a locker room environment where you have a man coming in who sort of wants to impress his friends, and so he'll talk about his date last night. So he'll use his relationships with other men and tell this story in order to sort of bolster or improve his own social status. So in that regard, that would be an example of how masculinity is often sort of relies on homosocial bonds in order to recognize or in order to be reformed, I guess. So in order for masculinity to be approved or evaluated, it needs the support of other men in order to gain that approval from your peers. And as Kimmel, or as Kat said in that documentary, it's male father figures, authority figures, peers, as well as sort of the whole industry, media industry, reinforcing these conventional depictions of aggressive masculinity, violent masculinity, and it really sort of constrains and narrows the options that a young boy might have in order to, enact any type of masculinity other than the hegemonic one. So this idea of gender policing will also become important. So this is another key term. So gender policing is the way that peer groups will police, punish, humiliate, insult anybody, any person who doesn't sort of conform to the conventions of their gender identity. And if you think about it in terms of masculinity, the way that policing takes place is through a lot of name calling. There was a whole list of, derogatory words thrown out there. And, you can see that in your own lives. I'm sure there's an example where some words like, pussy, faggot, fag, sissy, all these words are sort of derogatory words used to enforce gender norms, and they're name calling as a way to sort of police gender norms, and punish anybody who sort of blurs the lines or does not meet the expectations of the hegemonic type of masculinity. So there are name calling is one way to sort of, we can see gender policing, but you could see it in bullying, physical and verbal. And sort of there are other consequences, violent consequences even, if somebody does not conform to the norms of gender identity. So it does have real life consequences for individuals who, are either do not fit the category or who feel constrained by that narrow box of gender identity. So it does have real life consequences. Okay, so the last sort of key concept I want to talk about is just the way that in male bonding, in the homosocial bonding between men, how do women function? Where is their role or place in this patriarchal bonds between men? And there's a couple of critics who have talked about women's sort of symbolic position within patriarchy. Eve Kosofsky-Sedgwick is one of them. Gail Rubin is another. Both of them talk about sort of women functioning symbolically within the patriarchal homosocial bonding between men that occurs in patriarchal society. And these critics sort of say that women function symbolically as a kind of currency or exchangeable object between men. And Kimmel will also talk about this as well. So the way that men use women as a way to improve their social status with other men, but women themselves are the kind of commodity or currency, the object being exchanged between men. They have no sort of, they're not on the equal power or plane as the men who are in this homosocial bond. So if we think about, go back to that example that I gave before of the men in the locker room, if it was a guy using this story about a date he had last night with a girl, she would be the object being exchanged between two men. So he's telling this story about this girl, but she has no sort of social or subject position. She is just a piece of information being exchanged, and it's going to improve his status. It might even degrade her status, right? So if you think about a locker room,